Tom Donnelly. I'm the Deputy State's Attorney for Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office. I'm here today on behalf of State's Attorney Ivan Bates. I want to thank Mayor Scott, Commissioner Worley, and the Baltimore Police Department, Director Mavronis, and the team at Monsi, as well as the many agencies we partner with for securing the indictments of 12 members of this drug trafficking organization operating out of the 200 block of Collins Avenue and the 4100 block of Frederick Avenue. I want to acknowledge the work of our major investigations unit and its Chief Assistant State's Attorney Sam Milenberg, who's with us today, along with our prosecutors Jeannie Knau and Laura Rupersberger, for their work in partnership with the talented detectives of the Baltimore Police Department's Group Violence Unit under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel Robert Velty in making today's announcement possible. This takedown was indeed the result of a collaborative law enforcement investigation. During the execution of the search warrants in this case, Baltimore Police Department SWAT, direct action teams and canine units, district action teams and canine units working in partnership with the Maryland State Police, the DEA, the Baltimore County Police, the FBI, the ATF, Anne Arundel County Police, Howard County Police, and Hartford County Police. Today's announcement is proof that when we work in collaboration with our fellow law enforcement officers and agencies to dismantle open-air drug markets, we can make significant strides to make residents safer, reduce street violence, and begin to transform city neighborhoods by removing trigger pullers and drug traffickers. This takedown is just one of the many that will be announced in 2024 as we continue to dismantle the drug trafficking organizations that create violence and chaos throughout Baltimore City. With that, I'll turn it over to our Major Investigations Unit Chief, Sam Milenberg.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samantha Milenberg, and I'm the Chief of the Major Investigations Unit at the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office. Deputy Donnelly is absolutely correct that this takedown would not have been possible without the open lines of communication and collaboration that exists between our office and the Baltimore Police Department, as well as our local and federal partners. As a result of this takedown, we have secured the indictments of 12 members of an alleged drug trafficking organization that was operating out of the 200 block of Collins Avenue and the 4100 block of Frederick Avenue. I must remind everyone that an indictment is not a finding of guilt. An individual charged by indictment is presumed innocent until proven guilty. In November of 2023, after a 4-month investigation conducted by MIU and BPD's Gun Violence Unit, 10 search warrants were executed in relation to the DTO operating in Baltimore's Irvington neighborhood. 10 members have since been apprehended, and 2 individuals, Mr. Kevin Williams and a 17-year-old juvenile, currently have open warrants out for their arrests. During the course of the search, detectives recovered illegal firearms, fentanyl, marijuana, heroin, and cocaine. By utilizing electronic surveillance and BPD's undercover officers, we were able to indict the following individuals. Joseph Barnes, age 30, has been indicted on conspiracy to distribute cocaine and 4 counts of distribution of cocaine. Chris Tomlin, age 32, has been charged with distribution of cocaine, distribution of fentanyl, possession of a large amount of fentanyl, possession with the intent to distribute fentanyl, possession with the intent to distribute cannabis, and a felon in possession of a regulated firearm. Jamie Kessler, age 28, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine, conspiracy to distribute fentanyl, and the distribution of cocaine. Dominic Williams, age 31, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine, firearm drug trafficking, 2 counts of illegal possession of a regulated firearm, possession with intent to distribute cocaine, 2 counts of distribution of cocaine, and an obliterated serial number. Leannuel Collins, age 22, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine, 3 counts of distribution of cocaine, and possession with the intent to distribute cannabis. Mikkel Wilson, age 20, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine and distribution of cocaine. James Taylor, age 31, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine, 4 counts of distribution of cocaine, firearm drug trafficking, felon in possession of a regulated firearm, possession with intent to distribute cocaine, possession with intent to distribute fentanyl, and 2 counts of distribution of fentanyl. A juvenile, age 17, has been charged with minor in possession of a regulated firearm and currently has an open warrant for his arrest. Matthew Barr, age 29, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine and distribution of cocaine. Larry Spriggs, age 35, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine and distribution of cocaine. Paris Harris, age 18, has been charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine, distribution of fentanyl, and distribution of cocaine. And Kevin Williams, age 35, who currently has an open warrant for his arrest, is charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine and distribution of cocaine. I want to thank again my team as well as the officers standing behind me for all of their hard work. And once again, thank all the partners for helping us secure these indictments. I will now turn it over to Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you and good afternoon. I want to thank the Deputy State's Attorney Donnelly and Chief Milenberg and these brave men and women in the GVU, especially the detectives behind us and our team at Muncie for their work identifying, investigating, and indicting these 12 individuals as a part of Baltimore's group violence reduction strategy in Southwest Baltimore. Together, we are sending a unified message that those who violate our anti-violence mandate by continuing to be involved in group activity will be held accountable. The foundation of this strategy relies on strong partnerships between BPD, Muncie, the State's Attorney's Office, and my office to give group involved individuals the choice to step away from the life or put themselves and others in danger, or if they choose not to step away from the life, they will face the full consequences for their continued participation in violence in Baltimore City. This is about going after those responsible for driving violence across our city and inflicting harm upon our communities out on the life and taking life out of people on our streets in Baltimore. Since launching the strategy in January of 2022, as of Monday, March 11th, across the Western, Southwest, and Central police districts, we have enrolled 144 participants in life-changing service to help them stay away from the life. For those who refused to do so and continue to be involved in that violent group activity, we've made 247 arrests, including 172 arrests made by the GVU. Let me be very clear when I say this, that we are sending young men to prison is not our goal. But if you do not take us up, if you do not change your life, this will also happen to you. That is the only choice that you have, to take us up on our opportunities to change your life or to end up on a screen, indicted, headed to prisons, because violence will not be tolerated in Baltimore. We know that often those participating in organized drug trafficking carry illegal firearms and are more likely to use these weapons to carry out violence. Today's indictment is the product of their decision to ignore our mandate and inflict harm in our communities by driving violence and the proliferation of illegal narcotics. This is what accountability looks like. This is what partnership looks like through the group violence reduction strategy. They have refused to put down the guns and change their behaviors, and now they'll have to face the consequences for their actions. I want to thank again the State's Attorney's Office, especially the Major Investigations Unit, the Group Violence Unit, despite them not telling me about the suit coordination today, for their diligence in working every day to hold these group members and other group members accountable for their actions. We know that the work doesn't stop here, and we will continue to be proactive about holding those driving violence across Baltimore accountable. This is an important part of our broader public safety strategy and something that my administration and our partners have and will continue to make a priority. And with that, I want to say thank you very much and pass it over to Commissioner Worley. Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you to Deputy State's Attorney Donnelly, Chief Milenberg, Director Mavronis, and Mayor Scott for joining us here today. Today's announcement is another example of what we can do and what we can accomplish when we work together. As you heard, this has been almost every single county in the state, and almost every single federal agency had a help in this. Much of the credit for the successful operation goes out to all of our law enforcement partners, community members, and the hard work of the agencies involved, including the State's Attorney's Office, Muncie, and the Group Violence Unit, some of who are standing behind me today. I didn't recognize them all dressed up. So they did a phenomenal job. They've been doing a phenomenal job since they've been in place. Through the use of the group violence reduction strategy in the Southwest, these men and women worked diligently from July of 2023 to November of 2023 to make our city safer. With these collaborations, we've yet again brought down a drug trafficking organization that has done extensive damage to our city's neighborhood and residents' quality of life for a long period of time. I worked the Southwest in 2003 to 2006, and Frederick and Collins has always been a drug issue with violence since then. As you heard today, these partnerships and evidence gathered through surveillance and undercover officers resulted in indictments of 12 individuals operating in the Irvington neighborhood. As a result of the investigation, the following items were seized: 9 firearms, 38 grams of suspected fentanyl mixture, 6.5 pounds of marijuana, 256 grams of suspected heroin, and approximately 69 grams of suspected cocaine. This country, the state, and our city are in the throes of a devastating drug overdose, and the organizations like this are a big part of it. We will continue to put these drug trafficking organizations out of business, and those that perpetuate violence in our city and the culture of violence will be brought to justice. In support of Mayor's group violence reduction strategy, BPD is committed to disrupting these actions and holding those perpetrators accountable, and we will continue to do our work. Thank you very much, and I'll now turn it over to Director Mavronis.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Like the mayor said, sending young men to prison is not the goal of the strategy. It's the last resort. However, in order for GVRS to be effective, there must be real, legitimate accountability for those who continue perpetuating harm in our city. If we're only making arrests in reaction to homicides and non-fatal shootings, then we've not done our due diligence. GVRS is an intervention strategy. It's about deploying all of the tools in our toolkit, from support services to enforcement, to prevent gun violence. We've been clear from the start that we want folks to accept services, and we're making those services available. And we're being intentional about delivering swift and certain consequences for involvement in group violence. We know that while these groups, like the one indicted today, represent less than 2% of the overall district population, they are responsible for the majority of violence in our communities. In this particular instance, members of this group were invited to a call-in as part of the strategy to offer services and deliver GVRS's anti-violence message. They unfortunately made the choice to decline this outreach and continued participating in activities associated with violence. We're never going to apply enforcement measures simply because individuals decline services. What we will do is the same thing we promised to them. We'll hold you accountable for violating the mandate to put your guns away and step away from the life. The city's followed through on our promise of accountability. GVRS is effective because of the focus on the right individuals and the delivery of swift and certain consequences for involvement in group violence. I'm proud of the work of this collaborative behind me since the start of GVRS's launch in January 2022, and my team is committed to expanding this life-saving transformative strategy across Baltimore. It is work that we need to do and will continue to do moving forward, and it doesn't exist in a silo. One important example of that is something that we do with all GVRS-related takedowns. Monty activated a coordinated neighborhood stabilization response in the surrounding community to really start to address the trauma, provide resources, and other needs to meet the needs our residents have, and help prevent other groups from competing to fill the power vacuum created by this takedown. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Darcy from The Sun. It sounded like when you were running through the list of charges that these were primarily drug charges as opposed to like shootings or homicides. Can someone talk a little bit about if you're expecting this group contributed to violence in addition, and if so, if you're expecting future charges?
So to answer your question, the way I describe a takedown, it's sort of like phase 2 of an investigation. So just because a takedown happens doesn't mean that our investigators stop working on this group and tying things together. Our first goal is to get these individuals off the street, and the second goal is to continue to investigate what type of violence they had an impact in that community. So I can't comment much further than that, but typically a takedown is phase 1. After takedown, the investigation does continue, and in this case, it is continuing.
And then Stephanie, I think you said they were invited to a call-in. Can you explain like what that exactly means, if they would have like actually had a conversation about services, and how that's different than other approaches?
Well, I'll take that question, Darcy. Listen, we talk about this. You guys met a few weeks ago, a young man, Andy, that we reached out to and took us up on the services. Right now he's working for the city at the convention center. We will provide and have provided to individuals whatever they need. Folks needed housing, relocation, job training, other mental health, behavioral health, substance abuse support. We will provide it. But when you tell us to pound sand and we're going to do what we want to do anyway, I don't play poker, I don't bluff. This is what's going to happen to you.
Barry Sims, WBAL TV. Can you give us an indication of how organized or structured this group was? You've got several people up on the screen. Was one of them the leader? What was the name of the group? Anything like that? Can you give us any more information to that?
I mean, I can tell you the drug trafficking organization usually just went by to Frederick and Collins, or it changed as years went along. What I can tell you is since they've removed these individuals, the community has already reached out and said that they are much more comfortable in the space and that they've seen an impact on what the officers have done. So we've already accomplished one of our main goals, which give the community back to the community, and then we have to keep it. So we'll continue our enforcement. Just because we did the takedown doesn't mean our officers are going to vacate that area. We still have to make sure, because what usually happens, someone else tries to come in, we'll make sure that we continue to do that. And I'll let the Chief Milenberg comment if she wants to talk about.
Was that leadership or structure, anything like that? Did you have anyone who was actually like the ringleader or anything like that in this group?
So sort of in a similar vein as the last answer, I don't want to give away my trial strategy or my team's trial strategy, right? So I don't want to tell defense attorneys what we're going to prove and try to prove at trial, but that is usually part of a organizational DTO. There is some sort of structure.
And then, Barry, I'll just add that, listen, this corner location, as you heard from the commissioner, has been notorious for some time. For about 15 years, I got my hair cut at Frederick and Collins, and for all of those many years, it has been a problem. And when you talk to Miss Dorothy Cunningham and the community leaders around there, when I went walking around there just 2 winters ago, we heard about this and the problem that we have, and this is us answering the community's call for something that they've had to deal with for a very long time.
Alex Hillies with WJZ. Just kind of want to keep following up on the violence question, because the phrase trigger pulling was mentioned. Is there any connection? I mean, how close are you to connecting any kind of violence to this group?
So, Alex, what I'll say is that when you operate a DTO, a drug organization, and you have a gun, you have guns, and we recover guns, they're not just for show. What we have to do is also protect the work of these detectives and the state's attorneys as we go through the trial to make sure that none of the information that we don't need out there isn't out there until the appropriate time. But these folks aren't just carrying guns on them because they just like they're gun collectors and they like to carry guns. They're carrying on them because they have and will use them.
Jeff Aker with WMAR TV. What kind of guns, the 9 firearms, were those all handguns?
There was also at least one rifle included.
I heard you mention fentanyl, and it made me wonder if there were any overdoses that kind of give you a hint when that kind of activity is going on in a sector. Does that play into this at all?
A great question, but I think that, again, we have to be very sensitive about the information that could be related to the ongoing investigation, and we have to respect the state's attorneys and their work as they continue with the case.
Carl Farrell with the Baltimore Sun. Was curious about the drug level. It sounds like it wasn't a ton. So what I'm wondering is if there is an effort underway to climb the ladder to any federal investigations or anything for the supply level, the supplies coming into Baltimore in the first place.
I'll just say the same response. We always are going to do investigations in the right and proper way, but we also have to respect the work that the state's attorney's office is doing right now ongoing.